First of all, I would like to extend my revolutionary salute to the martyrs and the unsung heroes of 1891 War of Independence. And also I'm thankful to MMAP for organizing and giving me this opportunity to speak a few words on the issues that we confront today. I have a plan to communicate with the audience here, as I consider the role of an intellectual or a scholar is to engage the public, not probably to incite public. Therefore, my understanding of the problem that we confront today and the reason why the people of Manipur, with an idea of Manipur, is at the stage of a rebellious moment has to be explained with historical evidences, legacies, and the blood we shed for the integrity of Manipur. With this background in mind, I want to read out one very significant dictum that we normally have in our mind, even though Métis in the valley do not normally settle in large parts of the hill, which I normally call upland, taking cue from one scholar. Sing na koina pansaba, chingmi na koina pangakpa, lamni Manipur. Therefore, having lived with an idea that the hills surrounds the valley, the low-lying area, having lived with the idea that the hills protect us, unfortunately, today we stand at a very critical juncture where hills have started attacking the low-lying people, the low-lying areas where we settle. This is not something that we can tolerate. Therefore, friends and audience, masigi whole idea say I could get literature da, I could go one da, I could wakal the yaudana, laklaba, adumba, cultural value amani, political value amani. Masigi value say hanaki megi ahungi thodo asidagi yamna kanna kahinna mohonarabagi mami matarakpa asidani tambaki lamdamgi miyoi singha akan baladring namachagpagi satam lagos. I am convinced that we have all the sufficient reasons to justify the retaliation that the valley people are giving to the threat that we experience today to the very idea of Manipur. And I think, already, the whole complexity of the idea of Manipur is highly clear. Mahaki contribution is here to give it a significant way. Maramti, Manipur ki idea that has a baikodi. Manipur ki idea, Manipur ki integrity is a karakani. Higher pasida, I could Uribasi, Lamdu Kutanati, I could Uribadi, I could get legacy. I could get South Hoksaba, I could Tatakiba, investment maya. I could Honda Kiba, I could get labor maya. I could get nation to see, I could get Lambda to say, Sam the Honda, I could not talk you Huma, Amadi, Singer, Maman Latugi. Ikai Kumetabra, and a color of Miku other than you say, Tampaki Lambda, Iran Holdings. Hari Wakalo Lasina, background the Tamaga, Nasitin Biriba, Halaman sing each other now sing Puno, Tang Hazani Odadi, I could Kurima, I am one of my take whatever so, my take you Wakadi, Apunba Manipur, Hari Wakalo Ladura, Lepa Kuranga Lakibani, Manipur Kanna Honada, Maitena Kahina town with Hogam Lokibani, other than what would you say, Lepa Ikoi, Kudim Nangasi. Ipai posing a Timba, Adam the Chow idea, though Mahando see Haiba say, Aina, Timbiri Wamiam from Tumi. I was in a Kaido so a community of Kaido, I can't among the Chaiba, Ninda Toba, a Pibus Toba, I Toba Pankide, Tozeti. I had a Tatangi public speech people Matamda, I want to be Kran High, Karakan viewer. I had a key, Karakan Matamda. I could Ipai posing the Tamnamba, Pazakrava Puma Manipur, Chingna going upon Saba, Chingmina going upon Napa Manipur, I do the idea to choking at a Hanaki Velagini, I never see upon Manipur, Gidamaka Kalaga, I could Amatani, Nushi Channel, Penny Habis, Kaubigano, Amasu, Anova forces, Anova Mioising at Janaka, Ching na koina pansaram ba ching na koina pangat lambadagi ching na koina pangat pasim duna tampak lamdamda onse daga no me kam labadi madugi mayok tai khoi lepkani hai basisu achoba message mo pini.
Yes.
Karigi namakno nasi ai koina khoirang luba karigi namakno ai phigi na hasinga makutta kulai pho paidana chensil masi ai koina English living room hai adiga amor of the living space ki straighten koi but reality malai hai bisi ai oza ka sa gi mangal thamjigi tampak te lai basi mete khatanati pangkul sulei kabui sulei pangal sulei nepali sulei kuki sulei karigi no tampak se mete khatigi lamni hai na male pungka lan pauthok leba pauthok leba communities na do maral leba community marabdi Valley ke pick leba similar fajak cosmopolitan oiba London masih 60% population is a 6 to 7-8% ke London le mina bahai se Malay yati mapung leba reality amati Manipur ki adu bafadar wasakta mamni hai se kari kidam ta marania lan hali guna koina hai bas ko hami ngasi separate administration taliba na koina kari kidam ta Manipur ki itihas ko Manipur ki hawtham ko Prithivi miyamda lepalaitana propaganda daudana aramba etihas ina honoriba masi criminal offense
Yes.
masidani tampak tare riba miyamna tampak hailei mete kta haijidi tampak tare riba simi mathal yami hairiba miyoi sing asi Manipur gi idea di sagon raga lakpa amasung ching amasung tamman gi barta laiba culture and economy gi mari di kanana su nasi kahin namdare leiri khudam moina Maugi vegetable puthok leba ichel iche sinima sing aduna ko hima chatna po yon be yakhi do matamda infal da latra yon ki amse infal da leba valley ki tambaki mi singa makhoi ki namak ta pot su yon bikhi leiki masi fadar banik lam se ai khoi ki lam da leise economic relationship yam na chawn lei ojana suna sa hai bikhi blan aina haiseningi ngasi ki mirol Singda nasi Manipur gi mirol kaya mapam sila family angang kaya su naha kaya su yaubiri ai koi nunani ai leite ai koi historical reasons yang lei ai koi maning tamami ai koi yaunan yorami ai koi shan province yorami ai koi takhil yorami koi agom yorami I think the political relationship is well established oi the British government also knew it. Unfortunately, with the beginning of the colonial history, we were increasingly defined as a frontier. But we never had this idea of frontier in our mindset of politics because we always considered ourselves as independent, free people with an Asiatic presence. Therefore, this whole idea of being located in a frontier was absent in our political consciousness. However, this got changed with the coming of colonialism and also after the controversial merger with India in 1949. Manipur ki ngasi mirol sinena thamni yam sing malang miyam da koi kanani lamdam sigi miyam da su amasung ngasi Manipur ko thugai na bakan na hodari ba sectarian ba ideas miyam uthokduna mapan gi missing thazanduna Manipur gi forest Manipur gi environment gi issues gi common agenda ni high ba ngamda ba adugumba politics de khuri ya ba ngamde. We have appealed at different moments to the people concerned that drug is a common agenda. Environment force is a common agenda. This is not an agenda of some political class. This is the agenda of every common person living in that particular area. Everywhere in the world you are facing global warming, but even then you are not convinced with this reality and you keep on honking for planting poppies in the vast area of land which is going to destroy our future. This is not an ethnic issue. This should be considered as an issue that is a concern for the entire humanity. The people in the valley, even though we don't live in that particular spaces, we have a fear and anxiety that actually would lead to the submerging of the entire state in the very difficult times of environmental disasters. Having said this, ngasi political culture ay kitang organized ko ina hona ke to bani adu ay hani ay jam ay notes kan shamtar bani adu ay kitang maru ko ba ay ngasi hygienic ngasi kitili ba miyam singa ay ko na tatna ay ko ge hausi ke Manipur bu thugai na hona ba miyo singa kan na hay Manipur ge territory le ramdi Manipur ha bi se ko yorande. This is a complete lie, and we have evidence to tell you that you were already part of the process of state making in Manipur. Yan han budhai ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯅꯤꯡꯊꯧ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯅ ꯄꯥꯜꯂꯝꯃꯤ ꯀꯔꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯝꯃꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯃꯣꯏꯔꯥꯡ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯇꯤ 1853 ꯑꯃꯨꯛꯁꯨ ꯍꯥꯏ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯂꯝꯃꯤ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯗꯒꯤ ꯁꯟꯖꯦꯟꯊꯣꯡ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯇꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯁꯟꯖꯦꯟꯊꯣꯡ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯇꯤ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯃꯣꯏꯔꯥꯡ ꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯇꯤꯗꯨ ꯄꯨꯊꯣꯛꯂꯒ ꯅꯩꯅꯕ ꯃꯇꯝꯗꯗꯤ ꯀꯔꯤꯝꯇ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯝꯗ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯦꯠ ꯃꯦꯀꯤꯡ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯁꯦꯁꯇ ꯌꯥꯎꯖꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯅ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯒꯤ ꯄꯟ ꯉꯥꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯅ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯒꯤ ꯀꯣꯅꯨꯡꯗꯒꯤ ꯅꯤꯡꯊꯧꯅ ꯅꯣꯡꯃꯩ ꯄꯤꯔꯒ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯒꯤ ꯉꯝꯈꯩ ꯉꯥꯛꯅꯕ ꯌꯥꯅꯈꯤꯕ ꯁꯍꯤꯁꯤꯡ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯝꯕꯗꯒꯤ ꯑꯃꯨꯛꯁꯨ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯛꯏ ꯃꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯁꯦꯝꯗꯣꯛꯇꯨꯅ ꯂꯨꯞ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯃꯥꯌꯣꯛꯇ ꯅꯥꯔꯀꯣ ꯇꯦꯔꯣꯔꯤꯖꯝꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯨꯅ ꯂꯥꯎꯊꯣꯛꯂꯕꯅꯤꯅ ꯅꯈꯣꯏꯁꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯌꯦꯠꯅꯕꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯂꯧꯏ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯅꯈꯣꯏ ꯃꯇꯝ ꯑꯃꯗ ꯂꯩꯃꯤꯟꯅꯔꯝꯃꯤ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯁꯤꯌꯔ ꯕꯣꯟꯗꯤꯡ ꯂꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯨ ꯀꯔꯤ ꯀꯥꯎꯊꯣꯛꯂꯤꯕꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯑꯃꯨꯛ ꯅꯦꯔꯦꯇꯤቭ ꯑꯃꯨꯛ ꯄꯤ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯏꯟꯀꯟꯁꯤꯁꯇꯦꯟꯠ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯑꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯑꯦꯊꯅꯤꯛ ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯇꯤꯛꯁ ꯑꯁꯤ ꯀꯨꯏꯅ ꯆꯠꯄ ꯌꯥꯔꯣꯏ ꯑꯍꯥꯟꯕꯗ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯃꯥꯜꯂꯝꯃꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ foundations we have strong foundations to claim that we are a people Meitei do not necessarily represent the entire idea of Manipur. This is an idea of our ancient political legacy. And we continue to harbor that the people's history should be written again. And this fight for the integrity is not a fight for the Meiteis only. It should be a fight for people who live in that tiny state, who share common culture, who share common economy, who share common spaces. Hani anjam lay adubo ai tamna tension lake Manipurgi boundary matanga hai da ya da ni ai no ri kanna hai le bis adungi matama Professor Nauram sana jaw haina ma lerami mahana kanna hai mi why India cannot disturb the territorial integrity of Manipur. He wrote a famous article and he gave reasons. The government of India also has a responsibility to respect the integrity of Manipur given the reason that I have cited, given the history of the people of Manipur. And we are a proud people because we have fought for this. We have sacrificed our lives to sustain this idea, not only emotionally, but also territorially. This present context, this present fight is also part of that legacy. It is not a recent construct. It is not an issue of infusing outsiders and raising in politics. Unfortunately, the liberal left, which I said in the previous lecture also, the liberal left, the mainstream Indians, try to simplify the problem as religious, problem as tribal and non-tribal, which is very unfounded. And this is where I want to say that the valley, I think we all will agree to the idea that valley is a geographic minority because it is only 8%. How can a geographic minority can be a majority in that sense of politics and access to resources? Of late, we have heard the cookie intellectuals saying that the Meiteis are envious of the resources in the hills. I want to reply to those scholars that is an unfounded misreading of the Indian Constitution because Indian Constitution do not empower any state to have direct access to the resources. This is a national union subject. This propagandist way of reading Constitution and blaming Meitei for the exploitation of whatever resources in the hills of Manipur or even the valley is malicious. We condemn and we stand against that propagandist scholarship. And they are going to be accountable in future for this propagandist literature produced one after another, particularly in the 90s. And I told you, and I've been telling you, 1994 the Anglo Cookie War I was 1993 the Lariamai T.S. County. Page number 10, first line, says that Manipur had no territory. This is malicious. It began in the 90s. 1998, another book was published, Zavengam. It began to say that Manipur did not exist. And they were not part of it, unfounded. I tell you, when the Maharaja of Manipur became the constitutional head of the state in 1948, October 18, gave the first lecture to the National Assembly of Manipur. Yes, National Assembly of Manipur and the Maharaja, when he was giving this national address, the speaker of that assembly was a Kuki, T.C. Thiankam. How could the cookies today say that they were not part of it? When their forefathers were sitting in that National Assembly, where the king was saying that our territory is 8,600 square miles plus 7,000 square miles, including the border. I think they need to check the historicity of our peoplehood. This is not a history of natives. This is the history of the Pangal. This is the history of the Kabuis, Tanghuls, Maos, Meitei, everyone. We are a proud people, therefore, generation today will have to revisit. Unless we know ourselves, any battle will be difficult to win. Therefore, we need to know ourselves. Kudam moina harabda ai haksange kaya ki saktam phibam mase khangdana ai thabak ama pangthokpa yadabagum ai khoi kanano haiba se historically politically khangdrabadi ai khoi ni athingna wagani. This is a national battle that we are facing, and I think we need not be apologetic in this, because we are at a critical juncture of history that requires collective fight. And I'm sure, to be very humble, I'm sure the other side, the so-called other side, will be very soon convinced that the best thing to do for all of us is to live together. I'm sure this is coming up. Because hingminaraga lakhibani, hingminasi, aduga hereng turing topa taragadi madu leiriba miyam sina yarap oi haibasi mapan gi mising su khangba horole adu ngasi khundaminar ba ikoi gi maraktasu khangba horole haibasi thamji ai ngasi ngasai horopoda haizaba unsung heroes gi matangdo, when we are observing, commemorating our historical legacies, we need not confine only to the established personalities. We need to also recollect people who are in the fringes of our society but fighting equally for independence. I want to take one example. The name of the person is Dasu Sardar. Dasu Sardar Haibanopasi, Bengali Amani, Manipur photographer Amoina, 1891 Adwaida Leki, Hariba Mioi Asi, 1891 Gilansi, Torpo Matamda, Achawa Mating of Manipuri, Apun Basitam Gidamuta, Mating Panki, Mahaki, Paraba, contribution of the Marmara Mahabu, Meti Pangalupi, Luhomanki, Amasumachasu, Ani Yauki, Haiba report lay. Then Silvada, 1891 Gilan, Asi Lapota, Tikan visit Pano, Honorable Maxi photographer, or even he knew languages like English, Bengali, Hindi, Manipuri, Lokani, Adamana. British policy since the British Kaido, whether they have say, Mahana Kang visit the Tamana, Toina, Manipuri, Toxing the Tamtui, Miam, Tampuya, Duga, Manipuri, Miamna, Britishna, Zatara Palang since the Kang with the Mating Wiki. Maramasuna Lana Sid, Warbakana Kanano. A Lancy Wiki, Mars Kitan Kumbari, 1891, the Kanano Haibo Pau, since the whole Livasiana, the Sus Hadar, say Paki, Amusum Mahasi, Makutka Piki, Burumokona, the Bunki, Amusum Moon folk to Haki. We need a standing ovation. We need to respect this kind of legacy. This is an incredible sacrifice of a person who came from outside, but dissolved himself into the idea of Manipur. Got married with women. We are very welcoming people. We are ready for assimilation, but we will not tolerate challenges to our unity and political body, because we have spent so many centuries to build up this idea. This idea is not an ethnocentric idea. This is a larger worldview of a nation. And therefore, we Meitei standing mostly sitting here, we need to also recollect this historical leniency of the Meiteis towards coexisting communities. My point is simple. Dasu Sadari Machana Piani Dasu, Mapagi, Watokdagi, Masam Anisi, Punsin Naraga, Machana Pianis, Masam Anisi, Punsin Naraga, mining the British Netherlands, the barbaric colonial power, killed those two daughters of our land. This is the history of Meitei Pangals also in the role of liberating Manipur from the clutches of the colonial power. Having said this, I need not dwell much on the geopolitical part because that's slightly out of context today, but I want to end up by saying that Manipur gi lakadava matam sing se yamna lugadauri maramdi Manipur se haujikti mayayda leina khalam bai koise matai lam oirabani ko haibasi aina khaluba matam dia na pakali karigino haiba matam da buffer gi idea thorapa buffer is border the international border the buffer with the I khoi the hill amasung valley and you mar the buffer thor this we need to adjust because this is a way to mechanize the separation of the land. This should not be accepted. Adana Manipura and Russia border areas Toliba Todo, what was Chin State the Toliba, Arakan the Toliba, Rakhine the Toliba, Mead Laktara Hena, Mead Laktara, the Inatara Mangam Kichan, say homeless or the Kuchitsaliba area Manimasi. Masigi Mead Laktara Mangamayas in a Kuchitsala Haiba say homelessness or statelessness or a Bible say we have to be careful. We have to tell the world that we need a proper policy and protocol for this. And we need to preserve, and we are peace-loving people who would preserve our integrity. Towards the end, in our embassy, I quit my day singing so, we got to know Matam Ama, Yahweh, Hainaman, so Haine, I quit. Matam the challenges in a face or whether them lucky ranakali, a quayam kind of swan bamini hanadi, logi, my day sing a horizontal verses, so we take a taginati, living space, mamsi, manga, water was the Nagakuki class of the Bukrabani, Kukiga Karbi Kanada Bukrabani, Kukiga, Demasa Kanada Bukrabani, Kukiga Mara Kanaba, Paite Kanaba, Bukrabani. This is all about space. And we do not want to get into this ethnic space politics. Because we have had a long history of living together and we are tolerant enough to live together. And the last point I want to say, 1970 to the Manipur statehood, Pangla Matamda, Nasigi, 13 August Patriots state was it, Tawagi Hanba Chahiyasida, Araibadi Waikidi, Hagawari, Matam Lizario Nasi Mayam, the kindness. 1972, Manipur Mapal Kanzebo, the CM, Mr. Alimuddin, a Bangalore. The education minister of that time, Mr. Yaima, Krishnamurthy, chief secretary of that time, was there. There was a reported telegram sent from the Delhi government that Madhuri function with the Uyaro and Chielai. Nasigi 72. Kanzebo, Info. Secretary, chief secretary, Madam Education Minister, Delhi Masi program, see Patriots to begin one and Chilai. Madam Dugi, Education Minister, Yai Maduna, Chielo Makuban, Surzu Nation, none a city or a money in City, Highway Warrior. Has anybody Nasi in the Wednesday Pontiff, Bagi, Horopati Pantakadusara Waikide? Nasi political leadership, Adugi Tauna, Adugi resistance, Labor High Basimadi. Makoi who put a hanging away. Wahanga City, I could use the Puna Chachibatai, 70 to the Toki Batonado, Nasi Miro the Labra, Nasi political class labor has. Adana in Hani was Lapada, Umum Tenate Kotoliba, Nom Tenate Chudriba. I could give a Chimba Sultanga, Matamado Oi. There is a drought and poverty of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Noni. Thank you for your wonderful speech. Yam Pazaba, Akoi, Rapada, Saidama, Tambira, Mohaedo, Akoi, from Puda, question mark, or Habadamadi. Aduda, Hanaga, this one, Tokani. Otherwise, Akoi, brother, Asanas or Hibiba, we need a good leader. Any corporate environment or any organization, any society, that a proper leader later the society oigera panna paisa pai olagasu magi marai saitharakna ba haibudu oye. Once again amkana Marum Noni thagachari, big round of applause for him. Akoi on demand and matam home lakal maram warkana ngasigi akoi thoram pare ngasisu program macha akoi haija batare but very effective akoi khonje akoi na pami khonjel se Lingak Takaram Mine Yohansige Habado, Akoi, democracy at the Libanina, Madugi formula to follow Tauzarakanda, whatever will be a day program. Any Kakan Sikatsavadi, the master Derek, you have to wait for a few minutes. ado mayam akoigi volunteers singna akoigi plaque card sing loimak distribute tawba loibiragadi amtang mayam su phambada su waram bayang atang lepkat biyo aduga atang wana thangak biro aduga I hope all our media fraternities have come inside. So I request Darjan and all the media people to be inside so that they can take whatever the recordings they require. Aduga ahan bagi demo oina aiga minoltaga lauzaraki adugi second round na mayamna amuk khuminasi minoltaga.
Kay maniba Manipur kita magkanta slogan kana lawin na sige again. Alright, so firstly, please try to remember this word. The first one, we salute
Our Patriots.
Say no to
Narco-terrorism.
long live
Manipur.
long live
Karnataka.
long live
India.
Bharat Mata ki
Jai.
Satyameva
Jayanti.
Manipur ki Saptam
Kai Roy.
Himale Bhagna
Jai Pare.
equal rights
For everyone.
Okay, I hope you remember. That was long one. Okay, Katan Sani, I go to try to message. I request our distinguished guests to please rise up and we will do it together.
Yes.
Okay, I want a very strong energy coming from this hall. Are you ready? Right. We salute
Our Patriots.
stop violence in
Manipur.
say no to
Narco-terrorism.
long live
Manipur.
long live
Karnataka.
long live
India.
Bharat Mata ki
Jai.
Satyameva
Jayanti.
Manipur ki Shaktam
Kai Roy.
Himale Bhagna
Jai Pare.
equal rights to
Everyone.
that's a good one. One more time you can do it, I think.
Yeah.
That's a
We
very
have the
good
momentum. Everyone is in the same tune.
Very good energy.
Mayam yam thagatsari. Mayam energy si masi uhu matamda hai hall se play card na thang loi thanna ugre.
Amukta na daw sa'yo.
Hoy, sure. Mayam yam ko.
Tapos sa feeling and
So mapali na ako ni hamen extra lunch token mo le ngayon. So my volunteer said, okay, we are Monday. Extra token. Okay, so sapat. Okay, minapagay.
Okay. We salute
Our Patriots
stop violence.
in Manipur.
Say no to
Narco-terrorism.
long live.
Manipur.
Long live.
Karnataka.
Long live.
India.
Bharat Mata ki
Jai.
Satyameva
Jayanti.
Manipur ki Shaktam
Kai Roy.
Himale Bhagna
Jai Pare.
equal rights to
Everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, Karatsari. Ma'am, everyone is energized now. Ma'am, with a lot of energy. Sigi marak sida, thumbing sida, yamna ingna tappa. Ako musical piece on the thamjage. Mayam na homa segopiu ko. Haidi, housing lausan bagi koi aeroplane tonglo na kong pangsalan bagi ay.